Dev team assemble! Wait, we can't have Nox? What the heck? Netmarble, why can't we have Nox here?
7K Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be looking at Aquila, and you can't really discuss her without discussing the dev team, so most of the review is gonna be about how she performs in the dev team. But before we go into that, let us look at her overall utility. Definitely when you think of dev team, you can use them in adventure and nightmare adventure, and they are super efficient in clearing the enemies in adventure because they are susceptible to death. And Aquila being a great support for the tank team right now in terms of being able to reduce the death duration actually helps to shorten your runs in Nightmare Adventure, especially because, if I'm not wrong, applying death is very chance based, especially those of you who don't have Rosie, so your chance of applying death can be pretty low and the runs may drag pretty long, and in the end you have to sustain your death team instead and play in a more defensive way so that the death can land over time and kill them and kill the enemies. So Aquila being able to reduce the duration of death is going to be super helpful for you. Not only that, you can probably use her in Total War because Total War requires many teams, so death team can definitely be slot in there. But in terms of the PvP, this is where I had a dilemma rating her. In terms of arena, I don't think the dev team is suitable right now, as you will see later on as I show you some videos, some showcases. Well, the dev team itself isn't the meta team, but Aquila being in the dev team helps. So this is where the dilemma comes in terms of her rating. Should I put her at F? Should I put her at just A? Well, I'll leave you to decide on that after watching the videos. Infinite Tower wise, she is also decent. Again, because of the dev team, you can actually cheese through certain floors, but some floors will take super long, and I don't think it's worth it. So instead of the S tier here, maybe we'll look at an A tier as well. So let's look at her skills briefly. For her passive, she actually straight up just reduces their effect resistance, which is pretty good because dev teams want as low resistance as possible so that they can land the deaths better with high effect hit rate. Not only that, she's able to sustain herself a bit. When her HP falls below 50%, she's able to heal herself quite a bit. Take note of her skill enhancement percentage of 34%, Next up, we have skill 2 where she applies a link and distributes the damage to all allies, and then not only that, she has a 35% chance to inflict death, and upon enhancement she has a 40% chance to inflict death. In terms of skill enhancement, I feel like all her skills are very useful, and I feel that overall the dev team synergizes very well if their skills are enhanced, because it just gives them more percentages to land the death, which is very important. For her skill 1, she does damage and also has the chance to reduce the target's death turn, and also has a new effect to inflict weakness hit chance reduction. So let's look at the second line where it says each attack has the chance to reduce a death turn. So there is a chance that this attack can reduce death turn by 2 times because it hits 2 times. And we will actually see that later because I managed to get a footage on that. And being able to reduce weakness hit rate is actually pretty important, more important than you think, because in PvP, many players run block rate on tank teams, and also many players do run crit rate. So block actually neutralizes crit, but there's nothing to neutralize weakness hit, so the best way to counter weakness hit is to reduce the frequency of it, and that's basically what she's doing. And for her basic attack, she actually gives a barrier to sustain the lowest HP ally, so pretty good as a tank support. Now in terms of gears, I've given her block rate gear. You can actually give her effect hit rate if you want, but I feel like being a tank, you really want her to survive better. So I've given her block rate, and even with block rate set, you can see that I have 100% effect hit rate for her. But of course 100% may be too high in a sense that you may be using pets such as Kree or Nikki to increase effect hit rate further, so you don't actually need 100% on Aquila herself. And 100% effect hit rate is actually achieved through the main stats of the weapons as well as all the lucky substat rolls that I got. So this will still be a little chance based, but I would prefer that you have block rate on her. So I feel that the most important substats for her are block rate, HP percent because she scales off HP, effect hit rate, as well as damage taken reduction. All the rest don't really matter. Maybe effect resistance is good as well, okay, but all the rest don't really matter. So in terms of PvP, I think this is the most straightforward dev team possible right now in the game. I'm using Alice here for increased defense and extra heals if possible. Okay, you can actually also use Evan, but there'll be no healer per se on your team. I mean, if you're looking at Chris as a healer, then you may want to look into his weapons in terms of, you know, his armors could have attack percentage, while his weapons can have effect hit rate. But in this case, I gave him damage taken reduction for him to sustain a little bit more, but I realized that it's truly not important because in this time of the meta, any hit he takes, he'll just die. So yeah, it's really not that important at this point. So maybe attack percent for heals could be good. For Alice, she's on the block rate set as well, and her armors are all block rate with the weapons having HP percent because her heal scales off HP. And then for Rosie, hers is also on the block rate set, armors with block rate, weapons having effect hit rate increase. You can see that she only has 70%, which is not very high in my opinion. I feel like it should be higher, up to 90. Her block rate is actually at 92%, which is okay, pretty decent. Nox as well, same thing, block rate set with block rate main stats and effect hit rate main stats. I have a plus 14 weapon here, so I don't have enough gold to upgrade it at the moment. His effect hit rate was only 70%. So going into the first match, you know, nonsense like this can happen in PvP. Then going into another match, less sleep right now, so Aquila can actually perform here. You can see that she landed 3 deaths on the enemy, which is not too bad, but then this nonsense happens. And I think the problem with the dev team right now is not just that they cannot keep up with the damage output from the offensive and magic teams, but also because many units actually do just revive. So death just doesn't seem as effective in clearing them. You probably clear their first life and they come back with another life, so then you can't really do anything anymore. So this is actually with a magic team, and I deliberately put this match longer because I actually saw some potential in Aquila in terms of her skills. Please take note of the Platine especially. He has death turn of 2 counts, okay, and then the rest, I think Yonhee at the back has a death, no, not Yonhee, Mercure has a death count of 2 turns as well. So here Aquila actually just reduces the death duration, and you see that because Platine took his turn after that, he immediately died to the death. So in a way, I think because Platine is so tanky, death actually is a very good counter against Platine. Unfortunately, it's just that Platine, you know, comes with a very good and very strong backing with a lot of magic allies, so there's really no way you can just death him and consider yourself winning the match. Same thing here. In terms of Chris, you see that I did not land the death at all. I deliberately want to show you guys that even with very high 100% effect hit rate, as long as your death chance is pretty low, there's still a chance you may not land death at all, which is very sad. Next, I'm going to look at farming. Unfortunately, basically adventure, not farming. Adventure wise, I'm actually not that far in your Nightmare Adventure because I just didn't have the time to push, but I'm going to push from now on with this dev team. So I'm actually using this configuration of Chris, Nox, Aquila, and Alice and Evan. If you don't have Evan, it's fine. You can actually use another unit. Of course, those with Rosie will probably use Rosie here. The only reason why I use Evan is to make this, you know, more accessible and more relatable to people. But mainly for the dev team, you just want to cycle 3 skills, and that is Aquila's top skill, Chris's top skill, and Nox's top skill. And I did manage to clear this after a very long time, which is one of the gripes I have about the dev team, because I wasn't sure how long they actually would take, but I then realized that yes, dev is a very long drawn battle. I actually swapped into Colt here because Colt actually allows more effect hit rate, and I wanted to see if that actually helps improve my chances of landing the death. I think there is definitely some improvement, but of course unfortunately I'm not landing the double death to kill them off even faster, so that's quite sad, as you can see. Colt actually is quite a powerhouse here in this team as well, so with her bomb she can actually help you to clear the enemies also pretty easily. But other than that, you're just relying on your death skills, landing the deaths. As you can see, the death just isn't landing. The enemies are still there even with the first count of death on them, so yeah, this is not the most efficient. Of course, everyone hopes to have a Rosie here, but not everyone can get a Rosie. So this is what you can cope with. Basically, I mean, all you need to do is sustain your team, right? Because ultimately, they just need to take care of one team. So here I swap in Rosie, and you will see that the death probability definitely increases. I also want a special mention to Aquila. Later on we'll look at how her bottom skill performs, which is the death duration reduction skill. So again here I'm applying the death, but I'm not killing anyone. They are not stacking properly or as much as I hope to. Until Nox. Yeah, so Nox managed to kill one at the back. So I tried with Rosie. Rosie actually has a very low percentage of death probability, so that's why I don't really prioritize using her skill. So here take note of the two demons here with 2 death duration counts, and you see that with one Aquila skill you can actually kill both together. That's because it hits 2 times, and both times the duration reduced by 1 turn, so with 2 turns remaining it actually just killed them off instantly. So next up is gonna be a very short showcase for Infinite Tower. Death teams are usable there, okay, that's for sure. It's just that unfortunately I am at the stage where this is probably the worst matchup you can face for a death team, because Karin and Yui are constantly reviving. Not only that, you have 2 immortality units at the back, and that is Bane and Sylvia, and then you have Rachel as well who revives. So you know, when all these are happening, your death, even if you death someone, they just come back, and you don't have enough skills to rotate to continuously death them, and then your whole run ends up being very, very slow. And at this point, I'm just questioning myself, like, why am I even doing this? Because you can definitely be using, you know, a more aggressive Infinite Tower team to clear this so much easier and so much faster. So that's why, even though the death team is usable, I won't really recommend it, and I'm sure you have better options to use. In fact, I think for this run I actually got to the last phase after a very long time, and I failed because ultimately they just kept reviving and the damage got stronger and couldn't withstand the damage, so it was kind of silly. Right, so I hope this shows you guys not just about Aquila but also the dev team, how they perform in the current meta. If this video helped, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!